Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Mikaela Peters. So I'm trying to record these videos while I'm still located in a place where I have access to being alone and not near people, which is not really going to happen for a lot of this month. I'm going to Ireland sometime in the middle of the month for a couple days. That's already been planned like months ago with my one friend. So I decided to do a video on do I like being nomadic, because that was sort of where the inspiration for naming this account came from, Migratory Mikaela, because it's very rare that I'm located in one place for very long, which, as I've explained in other videos, can make things very difficult in terms of being there for major milestones or events. Like, I have one best friend who already had a child and who's going to have another child, and I hope that I'll be there for the birth of her second child, but I wasn't for the birth of her first child because I was in Switzerland, I think. Yeah, doing a half marathon. And that was while I was, getting my master's in Finland. So, do I like being nomadic? Yes and no. Like, I don't think this is a clear-cut answer, because there are certain things that I like about it. Like, I like the ability that I have to connect with people who I haven't seen in a while. I think it keeps things new, fresh, and interesting. I know some people feel like they can't really be friends with people if they haven't seen them in a while. I feel like quite the opposite. I kind of feel like I'm always friends with somebody unless some sort of weird major fallout happened and they're no longer, approachable. I do have some people I try to reach out to and I don't really get a response, and then I don't really take it personally. I just assume maybe their number changed, maybe they're really busy and generally not responding to anybody, because I know that I can have those moments, like when I had a deadline last week, or for whatever reason, yeah, they're just not responding. And I'm like, whatever, there are still more people who want to hang out with me, so it's fine. I feel like what I've started to realize in some of my interactions when I talk to some of my friends, and especially like I've noticed that, I've had a lot of friends recently who have been, this is always funny, like approaching me for relationship advice. And for like a really long time when I was young, I felt like I was that single person who would give people relationship advice. And they're like, I can tell they're struggling with a lot of this like avoidance, attachment style stuff. And what I start to notice in some of these instances is there are a lot of assumptions about what's going on in the mind of the other person. And I'm like, you don't like actually know. So yeah, I don't know the full story of what's been going on with my friends who I haven't seen in years, but I do know whatever they tell me, and I enjoy catching up on those things and meeting the person where they are and vice versa, despite the fact that we're able to connect for a relatively short period of time. I don't think it means that I don't care about them as a friend or they don't care about me as a friend. And I do feel some sort of sense of moral obligation to try to keep in touch with and maintain as many of my friendships as I can, no matter where in the world the person is located, as I think about it in my mind. So I used to think about this during COVID, where my mind just feels like a very big Ferris wheel filled with ideas and interests and things going on inside of it that's on a very wide rotation. And I sort of feel that way with my friends, where all my friends are on like a very wide rotation, and there are very few people who I talk to very regularly, especially at this point in which I have been becoming more independent, which I know people probably think is weird because I've always struck people as very independent. But what I mean is, like, I can feel myself becoming less emotionally needy. So looking to other people to help me emotionally regulate better has been something I have not been doing as much. So because I don't need it, quite frankly. And I just like don't feel like a super strong need to talk to anybody very regularly anymore, as I had in years past, where I would have like one or two people I'd constantly call. I think part of that has to do with, the fact that I've, been migratory for like a month now. And because it's sort of like there are other things I'm thinking about that are not just like how I feel. Like I'm very into like a planning mindset right now. Based on my neuropsych eval, I tend to have like superior executive functioning ability, which is very confusing for somebody with ADHD because it's not usually how that works. So it's sort of like I'm already, and I just explained this in my Russian video, like planning things out right now for like 6 months to a year from now, like who I'm going to go visit in March and what those tickets are going to look like, etc. So I appreciate the opportunity that being migratory gives me to, or nomadic, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to keep in touch well with the friends that I have. Now, certain things that are very annoying about it is like the fact that I have an entire mess behind me, and it's been very hard to get to a point where I'm cleaning it because other things like catching up with my friends and eating lunch with them is taking precedent over cleaning my room. I did try to clean it on Sunday because it was after the deadline and I had some time and I was actually like physically in one place. But what I did instead was I have a bunch of more trips coming up, like 3 of them. So I basically, in the shelf behind me, this top shelf is for 1 trip and this bottom shelf is for 2 other trips. So those are packed. So that's a lot more of like what my organizational energy or ability goes to, is like I'm very organized in terms of like what I need to pack for this trip. Sometimes I procrastinate on that, but I've been more proactive with that. And then like what all these trips are going to look like. As I was just explaining in the other video, I have a friend who's getting married sometime next year, and that wedding's in Hawaii, so I'm making plans to go to that. Like other things that I'm thinking about, going on. But it's kind of funny because aside from going to visit people to maintain the relationships, like people just being like, oh, let's travel together, is starting to become less desirable to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm just sort of like, oh, if I don't already have this thing planned to go visit this person or a very specific thing, like I travel to get laser hair removal, as I talked about, like there's not a specific task or person that needs to be visited in the thing, or it's not a new country. So this is another thing, is like, now I've been to like Latvia and Estonia and Lithuania multiple times. I think Lithuania actually maybe I've only been to once, but whatever. But like, I'm just, unless it's to visit a friend, like I love going to Armenia and Kyrgyzstan because I have friends there I can go see, but like going back and visiting the same country again, like just for the heck of it, like for funsies, I don't like doing. Like, very honestly, I think I figured that out recently. So like, I don't like bringing somebody to Estonia for the 5 millionth time just because I'm playing tour guide, and I'm just being honest. Like, it sounds rude probably now I'm thinking about it because I have done this a bunch. And also, like, I went to Paris again recently. I haven't been to Paris in 10 years, but I still did not enjoy going back to Paris. I also just don't like cities that are that big, and I feel like Paris is like the stereotypical tourist place. That's how I felt about Rome. I probably never want to go back to Rome ever again in my entire life. No offense to that city. It's also like low-key traumatic because that's when COVID first started happening, and then I left, and then a week later it was like COVID, and then the same thing happened in, where did I go in Spain? Not Barcelona, the other one, Madrid. Yeah, like I'm not sure I have like a strong desire to ever go back to Madrid again either. So I don't know. So traveling to the same place just for the sake of traveling, I don't really want to do it. But there are a bunch of countries in Eastern Europe I haven't been to yet. I really want to check those out because I like to just get a general feeling for like what I think about the place. And I think even if I liked a place, I'm not sure I'd necessarily want to go back just for no reason. Like, I went to Croatia last summer and I was in Dubrovnik, and it was cool, it was pretty, but like I have no desire to go back there either, even though like I actually did like it more than all these other large cities I just listed that happen to be in, the stereotypical places, France, Spain, and Italy, that people love to go. It's like the stereotypical, if an American is going to go to Europe, they're only going to go to these countries, which probably contributes more to my disdain of revisiting them. No offense to any of those cultures. Honestly, they don't like tourists either, and I kind of understand why. It's probably annoying. Yeah. Although people did talk about, like, were French people rude? And I'm like, no, because I just implemented the same strategy I did 10 years ago, which is when they start talking to me in French, I just say, nous ne parlons français, which is, yeah, a very, very badly accented way of saying, we don't speak French. And then they're like, oh, English, because what other language are people going to default to? It's either that or Russian, so I've got that covered. Or if you're in a place that speaks Spanish, good luck with that, but also got that covered. So the only countries I'd be screwed in are like probably some of these Arabic speaking countries, but even then I can still get by. Actually, Southeast Asia, they don't really speak English that much either. That was an issue in Thailand. China, yeah, don't go to China by yourself if you don't speak Chinese. That's gonna suck, unless you're in like some of the really, really major cities. But I was in Beijing, didn't speak English. Yeah. Oh yeah, somebody did ask me about that in Russian, about like, why not just go to China? No thanks, there are way too many people there. It's like overstimulating for me. That's what I love about Finland. It's like, I don't know if this is going to be offensive, but this is just my own viewpoint coming from it. It's just like, I feel like Finland is like an autistic person's paradise because it is so understimulating, and it's got nice nature, There are definitely enough things to keep me occupied. I'm in like a small-ish city when I'm here, and yeah, I just like it. Like Helsinki, like I'm like, no, it's overstimulating. I'm not going there. But I understand a lot of international people who come from these bigger cities, like a lot of times are just trying to get to Helsinki because it's familiar to them. So yeah. Okay. So do I like being migratory and nomadic or whatever, moving around a lot? I like it when I'm going to see my friends, especially in my Russian speaking, countries of origin is not the right word. Like where I learned Russian, like a lot of my like Russian language growth is owed to a lot of the people I met in these countries. Like that's probably my favorite type of trip to take. Um, but otherwise, or going to countries I haven't been to, I do feel excited about that. Like this Ireland trip, I am excited about because I haven't been to Ireland, so that's going to be cool. But just traveling for the sake of traveling and moving around for the sake of moving around, eh. I do like that. Like in some ways, being migratory probably saves me money because I'm not investing it on a house. And then like again, going back to the Happy documentary I watched a while ago, I know that being very, like engaging in novel activities is supposed to make you happier. So, in some ways, this probably makes me happier, even though, like I said, nobody should take advice from me on how to be happy because I do not think I'm a good example of a happy person. Like, I know that what I do is very inspiring to people, but I don't sit around and be like, oh, I'm just happy all the time or like even content. I appreciate a lot of the things I have, but so maybe I feel content. This is like the finished thing. And, after spending some time not in the US, I've definitely felt like I stopped being as obsessed with like money and success, which I love because you just feel like you live a more real life. Yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel. Okay, so that's everything that I have for today. I gotta hop to go eat lunch with a friend as I've been doing. All my friends on the wide friend rotation. So, yeah. Okay, try to record again tomorrow and again next week. And then, other than that, I'm going to be a little bit MIA. So, there's your fair warning. All right, so until my next video, bye.